Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, joined by EJ and Marcus. Um, Marcus, what is your immediate thoughts on Arizona State's season right now?
I think they had a lot of hype going into this year. I think this game is gonna be a bigger test than Baylor. I think and they kind of struggled against Baylor a little bit. I think this TCU's team is better than Baylor. Just overall, I mean, we can talk about draft prospects. I mean, we can get to that with them, but I think as a college football team, I think they might be a little bit stronger. Just overall, just from even the quarterback position, I think this is going to be a big game for Sam Levitt. See how he's doing because I don't think he's been playing that well film wise. Sure, he's been getting it done with his legs and things like that, but I think he's been missing a lot of wide open guys and not really running the offense. So it's gonna be an interesting game for me. It's gonna be a big test for ASU. I think they've been kind of dependent on the passing game to start off, but I think they're starting to lean on Raleek Brown a little bit more. So we'll see how this goes, but I think it's gonna be tough because I feel like TCU especially offensively, I think they're constructed a little bit very well where, we like I said, we might not be able to point out the greatest prospects on this team, but I think from a college football perspective, it's going to be a little bit tougher for ASU. And then if they go out and beat ASU, then we might see these guys rise as prospects.
And EJ, when you look at Arizona State and TCU playing, what immediately jumps out to you?
It's pretty much just the comparison of the quarterbacks. It's almost like night and day with Sam Levitt and Josh Hoover. Josh Hoover is dealing right now. He's playing at a high level. He's playing a lot faster and a lot more confident than what Sam Levitt is doing right now. But we're looking at the two teams specifically. I like what TCU is doing. I don't think they're on the defensive side of the ball. They're doing a lot of creative stuff. I don't think they're naturally generating a lot of pressure with four, but they're doing a lot of sim pressures. They're bringing a lot of different guys from different angles, and that creates the pressure that they need to get to the quarterback. I like Bud Clark on the backside. I like his range. But yeah, it looks like TCU is the better coached team right now. But Arizona State, they still, if they could shift back to what they did last year, where they depended on Cam Scadaboo in the running game, they could do that with Raleek because Sam Levitt is. I don't think he's playing with much confidence. I don't think he's seeing things well in the passing game. He's leaving a lot on the field, but that can turn around real quick. But as far as these two teams, I think TCU is the better team right now.
Okay, so Marcus, I love the fact that you're diving into the draft class relatively fresh when you do these podcasts with us. Mm-hmm. When you were looking at the film, out of the different players that you watched, who was the best prospect that you had playing in this game?
I mean, it's pretty easy. I think it's Jordan Tyson. I think Tyson is just built to be a number one receiver in the NFL. He's tall, and he's kind of lanky a little bit. Maybe you could put a little bit more weight on him and try to figure out how you can do that. But I think that's just, you'll get older, you play more in the NFL. The listing might not change, but you can kind of see some of these guys put on some more build. But just to be that tall and also have that same movement skills that he has, I think it's pretty special. And then the the ability to adjust to the football. He could adjust, make tons of catches, one-hand catches. I mean, this year he's been saving Sam Levitt a lot of his inaccuracy. So you've been seeing Jordan Tyson even play at a little bit of more of a higher level, kind of making up for some of the misses that Sam Levitt is having as a quarterback. So I think it's pretty easily him. I feel like if he has a great combine and a great physical workout, that he could sneak into the top 10 just because of the bend that he has. It kind of reminds me of Drake London. Drake London was a tall 6'4" guy who had that bend that you just don't see, because a lot of those tall guys are like T. Higgins, kind of stiff guys, right? You kind of stiffer dudes like George Pickens, who Pickens has a little bit of bend, but he's kind of stiff too, just because of that size they have. They're a little bit. It's hard to get down and make some of those breaks and get in and out of your breaks like Jordan Tyson does, and he's pretty special. Guys, he has an awesome rocker step that he does at the top of his route. That he can work anybody. And even with some of his releases at the goal line, Like he had a touchdown against Mississippi State there where he kind of just, it was a little bit of I wouldn't say a speed release, but he kind of just didn't put too much into it and was able to just show his ability to kind of show like his hips and how he can move his hips and how he can get in and out of his breaks really quickly. He was able to separate really quick on that I think it was the game tying touchdown that they Sam Levitt ended up throwing to him in the goal line. So Jordan Tyson to me is a standout guy in here. It's just, what is TCU going to do to stop him? I'm pretty sure Bud Clark's going to be all over him. It's going to be his eyes going to be all over him and looking for those overthrows, right? I think that's something Bud Clark's going to be doing. He's going to be waiting for those because he's a ball hawk and he's probably going to be expecting some to come his way. So you might even see him not even try to like rush and try to attack Jordan Tyson. In my opinion, I think he's going to be trying to play some of those overthrows a little bit and maybe get some picks and try to, flip this because, Sam Levitt does miss. I mean, it's high. And if you're a safety, that's right to you. So I think Bud Clark, he might be a factor in this game.
So, EJ, how high is Jordan Tyson for you?
He's definitely a first rounder. I would say I don't want to put a whole lot of stock in what he's doing this season. I don't think he's in the best situation this season. But as far as talent-wise, he's one of the few receivers that is a natural separator. He's a guy that you can put as your boundary X one-on-one in man coverage, and he'll get separation all by himself. You don't need to scheme anything up for him. He can just generate separation because he has that short area quickness, and he has that type of movement ability to get open. I see him at the next level as like a Keenan Allen type, a Chris Godwin type. He's a guy that you want to move around all over the formation and let him just work. Let him work in open space and let him just find the holes in zone. Let him use his short area quickness to break open in man coverage, and let him use his run after the catch ability. That's really what sets him apart. He has the short area quickness to separate, and he has the run after the catch ability. So that means the defender's job is not done. When he catches the ball, he's not just going to fall down. He's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get a lot of yards after the catch. And he's not a small guy either. And he's got that type of play strength, so it's going to be hard for defenders to bring him down. So I like him. I like him a lot. He's one of the best receivers in this class. Basically, he's not. I don't know if he's that type of guy that's going to win over the top consistently. I don't think he's that type of burner, but he's so skilled as a wide receiver that it doesn't matter. He can work the short to intermediate routes, and he'll be that type of volume catcher where he's going to catch 100 balls for like 1,200 yards for you and get you that run after the catch yards, and that's more than okay.
So EJ, is Tyson wide receiver 1 coming off of your summer scouting board?
Yeah, I had him and Carnell Tate neck and neck because I like Carnell Tate. He's doing all right at Ohio State. But as far as I know now, I haven't dug into the wide receiver group, but as far as I know now, those are pretty much my top 2.
Okay. There's at least 2 wide receivers from TCU in the game, Jordan Dwyer and Eric McAllister. Marcus, out of those 2, was there one of them that you like better, or do you think they're like in the same tier on a draft board?
So Jordan Dwyer, I'm assuming that he's the number 7, right? I'm assuming that's Jordan. Okay.
And you see, I got to go get the depth chart up with the numbers.
I'm assuming that's it.
I needed to do that, so that's on me.
So it's interesting, with him and McAllister is very interesting because, with Dwyer, I feel like that he might be better in the NFL than McAllister just because I feel like Dwyer has more wiggle to him. Right. I feel like McAllister, he had a really big game last week as SMU, so he's kind of put himself on the map. But before that, he wasn't really that big part of his offense. I feel it was more Dwyer. So I feel like that, Hoover has a connection with both these guys. And I think what Hoover's doing really well right now is like if you're taking away Dwyer, then he's hitting the other guys. And, he's a big factor in this game. I think that you're right, EJ. He's playing at a pretty high level. He had this dig route against SMU that was just an NFL throw, where it's just anticipation in between the zone. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, right? That is an NFL throw. Like Josh McDaniels just had passed out. You saw that if you watched that on film. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing that they want from certain offenses, hitting them digs on the with anticipation. And he did that, on time too, because he looked one way and it came back the other. So I think with both those wide receivers, I think McAllister has great hands, but I think he wasn't able to separate what I really liked at SMU, because I was really watching, because he had the 254-yard game. I was like, okay, is this dude legit? Is this something? Why is he not higher on these boards? And he just had trouble separating a little bit. And I think Dwyer is just a more shifty wide receiver that I could find different things I could do with him. And just from watching Jack Best so much, during the summer when I was getting ready for the Raiders season, I saw more from Dwyer last year, I believe, than, he kind of stood out to me a little bit as well last year. So I still think that he might be the better guy. And if ASU is going to be worried about one of these guys, I'll be more worried about him than McAllister. I think McAllister just kind of took advantage of SMU, just really not worrying about him, kind of giving him some one-on-ones, and he took advantage of it. But Dwyer just feels more like a NFL wide receiver to me.
How about you, EJ?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as Marcus does. With Eric McAllister, his big game against SMU, like almost half of his production came off the backside digs against cover 3. That's the play Marcus was talking about. That Josh, it was an amazing throw from Josh Hoover, but they did it twice. SMU was in cover 3, and the Dwyer was the front side option number 1, but he wasn't available. Eric McAllister right there on the backside dig, and they just couldn't. It was a hole in the zone. So credit to Eric McAllister for catching the ball and running after the catch, but he was just wide open on those backside digs against cover 3. And then like the rest of his production came on like short passes and bad tackling. So it sounds like I'm hating on his game, but I'm not hating on it. It's just that's what it was. It was bad tackling. It was holes in zone. It wasn't really him abusing the corner, getting open by himself, but he was taking advantage of the situation. Dwyer is the more, like I said with Jordan Tyson, Dwyer is the more natural separator. You see, he's got the quicker feet. He's more shifty. He's a little bit smaller, but he's a more shifty, quicker guy. You can see him having a bigger impact at the next level than McAllister is. McAllister is he's a bigger guy. Doesn't really separate on his own. Has good run after the catch. Well, solid run after the catch. But you can see McAllister having a better college career and Dwyer having a better NFL career.
Okay, and then I didn't mention Joseph Manjack, the slot receiver for TCU. Does he strike you as NFL caliber, or is he just a really good college slot wide receiver?
I'll let you start with that, EJ.
He didn't really stand out. He's got good size. He's got a track background, but it's not really nothing special. 11.5, 100-meter dash. That's nothing really special. But he's a long strider, tall, physical guy. Not somebody that I'm really looking at as far as a draft prospect. Somebody will probably take a flyer on him, but nothing really stands out about him except for his size.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like he didn't really stand out to me at all. I mean, I thought the tight end just looks from size wise. He looked like he was a little bit more impressive than him to me. I forgot his name though, but he did look a little more impressive to me when I was watching that film.
Okay, and we've started a game preview. There's 2 quarterbacks in this game, and we didn't even lead off with the quarterbacks. EJ, which quarterback in this game is the better NFL prospect?
Right now, it's got to be Josh Hoover. With Sam Leavitt, I watched Sam Leavitt against Mississippi State, and I watched him against Baylor. Like I said, doesn't look like he's seeing the field well. What that means is some of his reads are open, and some of the passing concepts are designed to go to the read, and it's open, and he's still not pulling the trigger. So it's like against Mississippi State, he was in the same situation Josh Hoover was when we was talking about the backside dig against cover 3, and Sam Leavitt, this was Baylor. This was Baylor against Baylor. Baylor dropped into a cover 3, and it was 2 options. He had the tight end running the seam route, and he had an out route on the backside. The seam route was there against cover 3. The holes in that zone right there in the seams, and if you want to cut off your route short, you can get your production there.
Yeah,
seam route was there. He didn't pull the trigger. It was there. It was a tight throw, but he still could have made it. And he came off of that, and then he looked at the backside out route. It was there. Oh, and he threw it, but he was late. He was late and it was off target, and it wound up going out of bounds as an incompletion. But that was 2 instances where you saw it, but you just didn't pull the trigger. Either he didn't trust his eyes or I don't know what it was, but I think the process with him from I'm throwing the ball to the ball actually getting to the player, that needs to speed up. And he just needs to be more decisive and more quicker with his reads. And it happened again against Mississippi State. It happened in another instance against Baylor when they dropped into a cover 4. It was underneath routes, and he just was late pulling the trigger. Either he was late seeing it or he was late reacting to it. So that's the issue I see with Sam Levitt right now. Josh Hoover right now is just the opposite. He's gripping it and ripping it. He's seeing the ball. He's seeing the field well. He knows where his options are. He knows where his let outs are. He has some mobility to get yardage on his own. But he's just playing a whole lot faster, and he's playing a lot more accurate. And he's just running the offense. He's not being the star of the show. He's just running the offense and letting his guys do the work for him. But that's pretty much all offensive coordinators are looking for. They're looking for somebody that can drive their offense. But right now, Sam Levitt is struggling to do that, and Josh Hoover, he's pulling it off quite well.
And Marcus, how about you? Which of the 2 quarterbacks do you think is a better NFL prospect?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's Hoover. Right now, I mean, you can kind of get into the whole prospect part of it a little bit. You know, that maybe Sam Levitt might be the better prospect because of the athletic ability and some of those things, and maybe somebody might fall in love with that. But just from watching the film and watching him play the position itself, it's clearly Hoover, right? I talked about that dig, but there's just tons of throws like that where he's on time. He understands what he needs to do. He's not just kind of like what 7-Eleven is doing right now with Jordan Tyson or bust, basically, for him at this point. Like, he had his throw against Mississippi State where, he was just staring at Jordan Tyson like for 5 seconds, and he just threw it up to him anyways. And I was like, yo, there's other people open, man. Like, he's not the only guy on your team. Bust, Jordan Tyson on running. And I think that's become a little bit of an issue with him reading out the things that are in front of him. Because, a lot of the guys aren't eating that much on this offense. And if Jordan Tyson isn't eating, then the offense doesn't move, and they got it. So, but Hoover he's spreading the ball around, just like McAllister at 254. You know which wires did he do this week? Like I said, I really like the tight end. He really stood out to me. So that guy could hurt you at some points if they feel like that's the matchup that they want to attack. But it's gonna be interesting to see how they go against this ASU secondary, just because the way they play coverage.
So Andrew, Josh Hoover, how high can he go?
I mean, depends on who you ask. I shared it earlier this week. Mike Renner put out a mock draft for CBS Sports, and I think he had him in top 16, which I thought was very rich, personally. But it's also that time of year where you're still projecting out. Like, he's obviously had an uptick every single week, and that's what you want to see from these guys at this point. And I think, like, my notes on him, quick release, I love that he keeps his eyes downfield. That's something a lot of college quarterbacks, I think, struggle with, where it's so easy for them to out-athlete. Good lower body mechanics, good zip and arm strength has really been evident most of the year. I feel like so many of these quarterback prospects I put down here, high school baseball player as well, you can kind of see that with how he zips the ball. Like, he kind of has a little bit of a snap to it. But no, I think if he keeps going, I don't know who TCU plays the rest of the year. That was something I told myself to look at, and I didn't. But if he keeps putting together these good weeks, like, obviously if they win, that's great. But he himself, obviously having guys like McAllister and Dwyer to throw to, DJ Rogers, like, he's got weapons around him to kind of still probably a day 2 guy at this point. I think round 1 is really, really rich, and I think this is another quarterback class where some obviously arches, I don't want to say fallen off because that's too harsh of way to describe it, but I think that's one of those things where everyone's looking to crown someone, and that's where you're getting Mendoza's going number one in some mocks. You've got Josh Hoover now, who's making an appearance in round one. So the potential's there for it, for sure. It's just you've got to see more than the last couple games. Like when you get into the thick of your conference play and everything like that, like tomorrow night against Arizona State, I think it's going to be a great test. So I think that's a good way to kind of go from there.
Okay, so DJ Rogers has been brought up, I think, a couple times. Somebody referred to the tight end, and then Andrew called out DJ Rogers. So, we have all of these, we have like 98 people in a Draft Professor chat. People are compiling a summer scouting player list. DJ Rogers wasn't on any of the boards. And then I was watching TCU play North Carolina, and I'm like, who is that tight end? Because he was number 0. I saw him make several really good blocks and a couple of difficult catches. So I said, I'm at least adding his name to the spreadsheet. Then I have to go ask some of my favorite people what they think of DJ Rogers. EJ, do you think DJ Rogers is one of the 16 best tight ends that's draft eligible?
Yeah, he can be. I mean, I didn't know who he was until I popped on some TCU tape, and I'm like, who is this guy? So I got to go back and do my homework on him. But yeah, he looks strong at the point of attack. Looks like he's got solid hands. So, I mean, and movement skills look okay to me. But he's somebody, I got to circle back and do my homework on because he definitely stood out.
And Marcus, what did you think of DJ Rogers?
I just liked his movement skills at that size, and then his ability to block mixed with that. I think that kind of is what stood out to me. Like, this is kind of what I immediately just caught on to. It was like, man, this tight end can move, man. He can move, and with the blocking mixed in, that's something that you can, find a way to get drafted with, right? Okay, so you can move. I know you can block. There might be some potential there for you to develop into a better wide receiver, or maybe we shock everybody and we have this guy that we have that can block, but also has that movement skills and talent as a wide receiver. Because he had a couple good catches against SMU that just stood out to me, and just or actually being smart and making himself available for Hoover. So Hoover has somebody to dump off to. I think that he does a good job of that, of finding the zones and things like that. So I think there's some good tight end things that we don't like to point out all the time, kind of some, because you want the tight end to kind of be a little bit of a safety valve at times, so he can be that guy to get that on 1st and 10 or something. You just dump it off to. He could break a couple tackles, maybe get 8 yards for you, and I think he could be that guy. So Hoover really try to use him like that guy as well. So I really he just stood out to me when I was like, who is that? Just kind of saying what EJ was.
And Andrew, where are you on DJ Rogers?
I don't want to be the cold shower here. It's not that I wasn't impressed with him, but I wanted a little bit more, I guess. Like what I like with my tight ends, like he's got the build for it. The power's there to be a good, reliable blocker, which is 9/10 of the battle when you get to the NFL. Because most of these guys have good hands, reliable hands most of the time. Mm-hmm. I would just like him to be a little bit more fluid. I put down there the yak ability. I don't think it's his fault that doesn't get to shine as much. I think it's one of those things where, like Marcus pointed out, being a safety valve, I think that's definitely the role he plays in that offense, where they want to look for McAllister or Dwyer downfield, and if he's not there, they're more than happy to dump it off to Rodgers, kind of in that 5 to 10 yard mark, and see if he can pick up 3-4 extra. But everything's there for him to keep developing into something. He could be one of those guys that, like, for right now, I put down he would be a safe day 3 pick for me, but he's one of those guys that could come in and not be a starter right away, but kind of like what you saw in Jacksonville with Brenton Strange, which I don't know where he got drafted, but he was a project coming out of Penn State where he had the tools. Penn State didn't really use their tight ends all that well until Tyler Warren came along. But Strange had all the potential, had a really big breakout year, his final year at Happy Valley. And he's now one of their main tight ends down there in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen's offense. So it's one of those things where the tools are all there. He's going to take some marinating in the NFL, but there's definitely potential there. It's just I want to see a little bit more right now.
Okay. Marcus, on all the players that we watched for this, Anybody that you like that you want to kind of prop up a little bit?
There's one guy. He's not. I don't know if he's on anybody's draft boards, but I know he's a redshirt sophomore, and that's Boogie Wilson from ASU. Boogie Wilson is a stud safety. I don't know if anybody has really done any homework on him, but I don't even know if because I mean, there's a chance he might come out and because he can, right? He's a redshirt sophomore, but he was cracking people out there, and he was just everywhere, all over the field, and he really stood out. Like he was like a what I would say. The word I'm looking for. He basically set the tone. He's a tone setter for the ASU defense. And when he's out there making plays, he really stood out to me. Another guy that is draft eligible that I really like that I don't see a lot of. I was looking it up and I don't see a lot of people higher on him is Miles Rouser. I'm a big Miles Rouser fan. I just think he's a really good safety. He's the reason Marcus Golden got made fun of for running his 4.3 because he caught him running that play. But I thought that's a little bit more of Miles Bowser's, game speed and the way he plays and just he's kind of smart out there. The defensive structure of ASU is a little weird in my opinion because it feels like they're always playing cover zero because of how low the safeties are when they play quarters. So it's like it's always cover zero without a blitz. So they kind of just leave their corners kind of on an island a little bit. But I think when Bowser's able to help, he can help out there. But yeah, it's those are a couple guys that stood out. I think the safeties at ASU are pretty damn good.
EJ, anybody else playing in this game that you want to, let's say, prop up?
Who caught my eye on TCU's defense? One of the few guys that first of all, one of the guys I put as my sleepers at the beginning of this year, Ansel Denbu. He's number 92 playing defensive tackle. What TCU got him, he got him two gapping a lot, so they're not really allowed to be aggressive and get after the quarterback. So that's not really their game. But one guy that did catch my eye on TCU is number 97, Paul. I'm about to butcher this name. Oyewale.
Yes, the defensive end.
Yeah, number 97. So I like him. He's one of the few that could actually beat one of the tackles by himself. He didn't need the ET, didn't need the TE. So, but he's got some movement ability. 6'4", 270 pounds. He's a guy started out, I think as a freshman. I think he missed last year with injury. So he was a guy that was expecting to break out like last year, but then he got hurt. So now it's just a new chance to break out for him. But he looks good. He has the movement ability. He has some upfield bursts. He has some flexibility to cross face of the offensive tackle. He stood out for me a little bit downfield. So he's a guy that I want to keep an eye on during this game.
Yeah, so he was actually another name when I was watching the TCU North Carolina game.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't on any of the lists that any of the draft professors had given me for the shared spreadsheet. So I added it. Now, my understanding is he could still go back for one more year.
Yeah, he still has eligibility left, so he could go back. And then right before we got on, I looked at the that running back, Kavarian Barnes. He didn't play against SMU, but I watched him against North Carolina. And he's 5'9", 220, got that squatty, muscular build. He's got some power to him when he's running. He's got some long speed with a 75-yard run. When you look into his background in high school, he's a 4x100 state champion track guy. So he's got some long speed, some burst. I'm not sure if he'll actually get drafted because running back is funny, but he could. But he looks like he has the talent if he continues to play well throughout the season. He looks like he's somebody that can make his way onto an NFL roster.
So, Andrew, anybody else in this game that you want to give a shout out to from a draft standpoint?
We've
done the wide receivers.
Okay, I figured that. Did we talk about Bud Clark at all?
No, go for it.
Wait, yep.
Yeah, Bud Clark. I was hyping him up before the year, and then obviously week 1 against North Carolina, I had that pick 6, and I was on cloud 9 at that point. It's one of those times where you get to call your shot on somebody and they fill it out right away. But no, it's more than just the ball skills with him. Like I just love the range he has. He's able to help in both the pass and run game. Decent size, good awareness. He's not going to wow anyone to the point where he's like a day 1 pick by any means, but he's one of those guys where you take him on round 2, beginning of round 3, and you can plug and start him right away. Make meaningful plays as a rookie right away. Use him in a variety of different spots. And I'm a big fan of Clark, like I said, and I think he's had a pretty decent year so far. Testing obviously always helps or makes or breaks safeties. We've seen great ones fall up and down the draft in recent years. So it's one of those things where he gets in the right spot, he can produce right away, I think. So Bud Clark's someone that I think doesn't get talked about enough. So anytime I get a chance to, that's why I'm happy to plug him when I can.
I have a question on the 2 offensive tackles in the game that are draft eligible. So TCU is Ben Taylor Whitfield, Arizona State, Max Ihenakor. How well did I say that, Marcus?
You got it.
I got it. Which of those 2, Marcus, do you like better as an NFL tackle prospect?
To be honest, I would go. It may be kind of biased, but I'll go Ihenakor. I think what he does really well. I mean, just at that size and what they like to do is he's a great puller, right? They like to pull those tackles and guards and run that power game, and I think he's a great down blocker as well, and fits what they really like to do. When it comes to the tackles for ASU, though, sometimes it could feel like, and I know he's 6'6", but it kind of feels like a little bit like they're guards at the tackle, because even the right tackle, I believe that he just has that just feel of more like he's a guard, in my opinion, just because I just kind of see his little bit of shorter arms. But I think as a run blocker and some of those things, I mean, he could really move some people. And he in my opinion, like, he did have some like issues with like speed rushers and things like that, especially even against Mississippi State. I thought he had some issues with like guys who could, especially the SEC speed and things that get around him. It's just more, to me, that's why I feel like he should be moved inside in the NFL, because he's gonna have to deal with things like that, and you can use his down block ability. You could pull him because he's pretty athletic for 330 pounds. He actually has pretty good feet too. It's just sometimes when you're that big and you're playing tackle and you have those short arms, that ain't gonna work in the NFL. Like you're not gonna be able to get your hands on some of those guys, and Mike Parsons and those those type of pass rushers are gonna just get right past you. So I think he should be moved inside. And I feel like once we get close to the draft, I feel like NFL teams are going to do that. But you could definitely see him playing guard and maybe even become a full-time starter and maybe have Pro Bowl potential there. I don't know about tackle. I just don't like his arm length, in my opinion. And we'll see what it actually is when we get to some of those measurements. But I'm a little bit worried about that. That's why I think he can play guard in the NFL and be really good at it. And I just think he's got to move a little bit inside.
Do you have a feel, Marcus, if you like him day 2 or day 3?
I mean, at guard, I would like him day 2. I wouldn't be like a high day 2. I think he's the normal guard range guy. Like you're not elevating. Some guards get drafted higher, right? But usually guards go 3rd round, right?
Right.
And you can find you a great guard 3rd round. I mean, that's not a thing that's going to hurt you if you wait to get a guard that late. It's not like getting a tackle. You usually have to get those guys in the 1st round and make sure they end up being studs. You can get a stud guard in the 3rd round. I mean, that happens all the time. So I think he's just one of those normal guards, in my opinion, where you kind of get him in the 3rd round, player like that. He's just not a tackle to me, right? But I do think, from the overall perspective, I think TCU's offensive line is better as a whole. I think they play a little bit better together. But I do like him in the core.
So, Andrew, of the 2 offensive tackles in this game, is there one that you like more than the other?
I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch any of them, but I want to ask Marcus a question if I can use my time for that instead.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you said you watch enough Arizona State, obviously. I feel like with Levitt, and it sounded like the Levitt conversation may have happened.
Oh, yeah.
It did. Right as you joined, yes.
Yes, that's what I had a feeling. So what I would say, though, is I won't spout off about him, but I feel like he doesn't do those guys any justice to let them showcase themselves, because it's just and I mean this in the nicest way possible. I was watching, I can't remember which game it was this year, and he reminds me of my 7-year-old son when he plays college football on the Xbox, when like he gets a guy running at him and my son just has to roll out, and it's like, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, we're going to go this way. And then he just chucks it down the field and hopes his guy makes a contested catch in the meantime. which thank God he has Jordan Tyson for that. But
Yeah.
I feel like the guy, like I had the Arizona State guy down on my watch list to get to at some point. But I was watching the games and I'm just like, I don't think these guys are going to have a easy time getting evaluated, because it's just as much as he gives himself time to throw, he gives those guys the same amount of time to block. So I just didn't know if that you think is affecting them at all or anything like that.
Yeah, it is. It is. When it comes to like, their stats and stuff like that, and giving up pressures and things like that, I think Sam Levitt is really, affecting that. He's not getting rid of the ball quickly. Everything is taking a while. But I think where somebody like a Minicore is going to shine though, and really show that he can block, is the run game. Because when he's getting around and he's doing those down blocks and things like that, I think teams going to fall in love with that no matter what. And if somebody does think he can play right tackle, I mean, that's, that's something effective right tackle can do. If he's down blocking in the power system or something like that, I think it's going to work for him. But you're right. When it comes to the pass protection, if you're, you're kick stepping and you're pushing the guy around the edge, and then here comes your quarterback right to it. You know what I mean? That's not going to help you out and make you look good. But I do think he is clean in pass protection. Just you can still see the feet. You kind of just got to watch the traits a little bit with him, in my opinion. The traits are there. I just feel like at guard he'd be so much better. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
EJ, where are you with the two offensive tackles in this game?
Me personally, I would kick them both inside to guard. In Hinacore, what I saw from him was like when he's some balance. He's a really tall guy. He's really high cut. He's a high hip guy. When he's dropping into his pass sets in his kick slide, guys are watching his feet and they're attacking him in between his kick slide. So he's got 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot is coming down on the ground. So basically he's standing on one leg, and that's when they're attacking him, and that's killing his balance. So that's like, I guess that's like technique, footwork, not like easily correctable, but that's what's happening. That's what's happening to him. He's not the quickest guy, because you see against Mississippi State, somebody beat him around the edge. But that's what I'm seeing when he's engaged. When he got you, his grip strength is good. When he's got you and his hands is right, you're not going anywhere. He's got you. Once he got you, he got you. But it's just that when he's on the move, that's if guys attack him while he's on the move, that's when the balance issues come in, and that's when he's giving up some of his anchor. Because a guy that big and that strong, he should have a good anchor, but you're not seeing it because he's not in the best position to receive the defender. So it's a technique issue. I like if you kick him inside to guard, where he's just fighting in close quarters, I mean, he'll knock somebody's head off. He can move. He can move, guy. That's what I look for with offensive linemen first and foremost. Can you move another man against his will? He can do that, and you put him in a condensed formation, he can do that even better. Same thing with Ben Taylor Whitfield. I think he's got a little bit better balance, because all his weight, he's listed at 6'6", 300. It looks a little bit more than that, but all his weight is in his lower half. He's got big thighs, big calves. He's that big type of guy, but he moves very well for his size, and he's another guy that once you lock in, you're not moving. I'm not sure what his arm length is. It looks like, because he looks like he's got to lunge a little bit in order to engage with the defender, but he's a guy that I thought would have success kicking inside to guard as well. So both of these guys, I think they could both kick inside the guard. And one thing I look at their stance, do they have the flexibility to get down in their stance to play the guard? And they both do. So I think they'll be developmental prospects if they stay at tackle. I think their path to success is a little bit better if they kick inside to guard for both of them.
Okay. Nobody's mentioned Arizona State corner Keith Abney yet. Is he becoming just a corner? Because coming out of the summer, he was relatively high on a lot of the summer scouting cornerback boards, but nobody's mentioned him yet.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fan favorite coming out of the summer. I mean, he's still good to me. I don't know. He doesn't have the wild plays and the highlight plays for people to cut up and put on Twitter. I don't think he has a whole lot of that yet. And plus, not a lot of people got eyes on Arizona State yet, because they probably play late. Their West Coast are playing late on over here on the East Coast. But yeah, I looked at him. He's still got the good change of direction. Still a feisty player. Still has good recovery speed. Still competitive at the catch point. They got him listed at 6 foot, like around 200 pounds or something like that. I want to see the measurements. I want to see if it's a legit 6 foot or is it like a 5'11", 5'10" type of thing. But he's a player. I think he's still as good as the hype was this summer. I think he's still that good. It's just the fact that it's just nobody's hyping it up anymore. We got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So, but yeah, I think he's still good.
Yeah, like apparently we have an issue covering West Coast team. I'm noticing, like I even noticed, like the first time we covered USC, like all the analytics on the podcast channel skyrocketed. But because normally, right? I mean, nearly all of us in the draft professor community are like east of the Mississippi.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like Jay Mayava, the USC quarterback, he's playing well, and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Marcus, where are you on Keith Abney?
No, I think Keith Abney is still very legit. I think teams, why you're not hearing about him as much, I think teams are staying away from him a little bit. And he's not getting targeted as much. And he's still breaking up passes. He had a great pass breakup against Texas State where he played through the hands perfectly, knocked that ball out. He has great technique. And like I was saying, ASU kind of leaves him on an island too with how low the safeties play, in my opinion. When they, that's what I'm saying. It looks like quarters, but I feel like it's always cover zero without a blitz. And then when they do cover zero, I have some terrible flashbacks against Mississippi State and Texas last year playing cover zero. But when you put those guys in kind of those binds and the way ASU plays defense, I think kind of that shows how good he is, that he's not giving up a lot of big plays because he's on that island. And especially the other corner on the other side, his name on top of my head, but yeah, he's a pretty good player too. But I feel like teams feel better attacking him than they do Abney. I think Abney, he's not getting more than 5 targets a game at this point. And he's playing in the Big 12. A lot of teams are, they're not, these Big 10 teams that are running the football down your throat. I mean, they're going to start throwing on you. And even playing Texas State and even Mississippi State, they're throwing the ball. So, and he's not getting the ball thrown his way. But when he is, he's making a lot of plays and he's not giving up any yards. So I think he's still playing really well. He's got 3 pass deflections on the year. He's got an interception. He's doing his thing. And I think he's going to be a guy that can, I feel like is going to be talked about, being in the first round.
Andrew, any additional comments on Keith Abney?
I didn't get to him in the summer, but he's somebody that I've been plugging a lot for both my sites when I mentioned cornerbacks to watch for both the Vikings and Bucks. Just one thing to throw out there with how Marcus mentioned he's not getting targeted a whole lot. He's giving up less than 5 yards a target for what he has been targeted. And then ironically, the game he was targeted the most was Texas State, which I don't know if they just didn't read the scouting report on him. But on 7 targets in that game, he only gave up 23 yards. Jeez. So, I mean, he's able to lock in and be one of those guys that, again, I don't think he's getting talked about enough. Definitely fits that whole West Coast, everyone's snoozing. And also for his PFF grade, that was his highest one where the rest have all been high 60s, low 70s. That was a 90 grade for him coverage-wise. So even when he was targeted the most, he was able to have his best game through their lens at least. So that was something I liked last week because I did mention him, like I said, in both sites for cornerbacks to watch for both teams.
Okay, and the last player I want to bring up is Arizona State running back Raleek Brown. So Randall Slifer had me add him to the simulator. So again, this was a running back that nobody mentioned coming out of the summer. And Randall's like, Jim, I need you to add him to the simulator so I can go make a graphic. EJ, where are you on running back Raleek Brown from Arizona State?
Yeah, he's a good player. I think they should give him the ball a little bit more. He's got a little bit of everything. He's got some juice to him as far as change of direction, short area quickness. I think he has some burst to him, some bursting acceleration. That's why I look for him with the running backs. Can you accelerate? Do you have that type of explosiveness? And I think he has that. I think he has some vision. Well, yeah. When I say vision, he can set up his blocks. He has the patience to see what blocks are coming and how to set them up, and he has an eye for the cutback. I haven't seen a whole lot. This is a small sample size that I watched of him. I didn't see him as a receiver yet, or maybe like as a check down option or anything like that. But I think he's a player that honestly Arizona probably should lean on a little bit more. But yeah, he's a guy that he's talented. He's definitely put him in the simulator, and he'll work his way up the draft boards.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have to do on my simulator. I just have to put him in. If people draft him, he moves up. So it's a magical thing. But Andrew, what do you have on Raleek Brown? Anything?
I don't have anything. I had him on my watch list again, and just because it seems to be this is my role, I decided I know this doesn't seem to be my role. This is my new role. If I haven't watched him, I'm going to drop some PFF numbers just to add some context.
Yeah. That's how you should do it.
24 missed tackles through 4 games for him is pretty impressive in my opinion. Nearly 1 out of every 5 carries he has a carry for 10 plus yards, so big play potential is there for him all the time. And then 16 first downs on all of his runs. So I mean, he's a difference maker in that offense. Obviously, passing game was always going to be talked about with Arizona State, and that's who Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson, obviously. But like I said, he's on my watch list, but I didn't get to him in the summary before the show here today. Really was TCU heavy for me, honestly. But no, he's somebody, like I said, I've been keeping tabs on, and like I said, wanted to add some context to where that's where he's able to make his difference is just those explosive plays.
Well, he'll be one of the first running backs that you and EJ cover, I believe. So cool. That time is coming real shortly.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, too. No offense to the running backs. I know what my schedule is going to be like where I'm watching a lot of running backs. So I don't prioritize them yet.
Yeah,
so I'm enjoying my free time before syllabus week is over for draft content. And once we get to the real semester of it all is when I'll dive into that.
You're about to go up to 16 players a week that you're going to have. Yeah, I get it.
Jeez.
You Brown.
For me, I mean, I really like Raleek Brown a lot. I think his ability to make people miss, especially in the hole, get skinny, really read power too. I love his patience. He had this one run against Mississippi State where you even on the end zone, you kind of lost him in the end zone view, but then he just ended up popping right out because he was waiting for the blocks to develop. So he has great vision. He's perfect for a power scheme. Like if you're a team that, like the Lions or something like that run a lot of power, he's perfect for that type of scheme where, he's able to kind of just read it and understand where he's supposed to go. And he breaks a lot of tackles. I really think ASU wasn't really even planning on him being the main running back. I think he just kind of took the job from Udo. So, I really thought that was their plan because Udo's a bigger guy. They still try to use him in the red zone a little bit more than or inside the 5 more than Brown because Brown's a smaller player. But I think they need to switch to that because I think Brown is a strong guy. He's stronger than his weight is. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving was like 200 pounds, right? And he went in the 5th round or wherever he went because of that. And you see him in the NFL, he's running people over. It doesn't matter. He's 195. He's strong as hell. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big factor with Raleek Brown is that the strength that he has. His legs never stop moving. Just like you worry about the long speed a little bit, maybe, just because there's a run against Mississippi State where he got caught from behind, and that kind of maybe shows he might not have that serious long speed, maybe. But it is interesting, it's kind of to see where he ends up. But I think ASU needs to lean on him more because that's what they had to do to get back in the Mississippi State game. They had to stop passing, and they leaned on him, and he kind of took them to where they needed to go.
Well, why don't we wrap this show up? I know Marcus has another podcast, and Marcus, why don't you tell us all about all of the podcasts you do, including the one that starts in about 5 minutes? Yeah, so
I have my own channel called Tape Don't Lie. So you do film review once a week. So you drop that every Wednesday. Then we usually do a live every week. We kind of do over-unders for the Raiders, go over the latest Raiders news. And then, we do our previews as well, instant reactions. Also do full breakdowns for members. So, I got every single Ashton Gent to carry up on the channel. So if you want to see what happened on Ashton Gent, I break it down in full. So, you're just putting in grinding, man. I just grind all day, basically.
Well, it's your third podcast with Draft Professors. I love it when you come on. So thank you so much for being here. EJ, do you want to let everybody know about all of the draft content that you make?
Yeah, I'm here every Thursday at 9 on the Mrs. Our Relevant podcast. Pretty much breaking down all types of prospects. You can catch me on Twitter. I haven't been active on Twitter lately, but I promise I'm getting back to it. But you can catch me on Twitter. I'm doing a film breakdown, prospect breakdown, scheme breakdown. Pretty much all I'm doing is I'm watching the film and I'm giving you my opinion based off the film. So don't argue with me, argue with the film. And as always, I promise I will never use the word generational.
Like I told you, Marcus, like when I saw your podcast and hear EJ's tagline, I said, these two need to meet. Andrew.
Marcus, tonight you have all those Ashton Genty carries on there. It's a shame that social media tells me he's a bust already, and it's not the offensive line fault. But anyway, you can find me on Twitter at MandrewNFL. I like to be here for most of the time on Thursday when my kids allow me. You can find me over on Bucks Wire, Vikings Wire. Bucks content's really what I focus on. It's funny, real quick too, Marcus. The Bucky Irving comparison, the size is even the same for him and Raleigh Brown. So I mean, it's all there for that to happen. But yeah, so draft content is usually the weekend there on those sites. I put out what positions of need the team is projected to have next year. I have prospect guides for if you want to watch players at certain positions throughout the day from 12 o'clock all through 11 o'clock night slate of games. So big weekend ahead. I'm excited to get into another fun week of college football.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to the Draft Professor, everybody. If this is your first time here, we're here every day. 7 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 podcasts every weekday. We couldn't do this without EJ and Andrew showing up once a week. We can't do this without great guests like Marcus coming on. It's just a lot of fun. We cover the draft like no other channel. So in 2 weeks, this specific podcast with Andrew and EJ, we'll be breaking down the running back class, 8 running backs at a time. So we're going to do 5 podcasts, 8 running backs each podcast. And they're going to tell you how they've graded them so far. So that's going to start, I want to say it's like October 6th, but I don't have my calendar in front of me to give you the exact date. You'll also see Andrew doing some offensive linemen on Tuesday. You'll also see EJ doing some tight ends on Friday. So we, as a channel, will have the entire draft class broken down by the second week of December. So with that being said, for the 98 podcasters at the Draft Professor, for special guest Marcus, EJ, Andrew, myself, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on a podcast again tomorrow night, everybody.